Peace and blessings, y'all. This is your boy Gerald. It is Wednesday, February 8th. How is everybody doing? Just playing around with the laptop, trying to get this sound a little louder than what it was. Because I've noticed on the playback, it seems a little low. But nonetheless, y'all, you are halfway through your work week, and I hope that you are well. Sidestepping the negativity by grounding your feet to speak your truth, but of course, by placing Him first in everything that you do. So today, this morning, I happened to turn on the Today Show. And the Today Show ran a piece that talked about the consideration of the use of LSD. For those who may not know what LSD is, LSD was a drug that was introduced in the late 50s, early 60s to cause the brain to give a distorted or a psychedelic trip. There has been notable writers, producers, people in the media field that have experimented with this man-made uh, drug, even though I know that some natural uh, plants give off the same effect. Mushrooms is for one. But what I found what was so interesting is, why is it, heed the word of a brother, millennials, why is it that is your generation that everything is so unstable? Why now? Why is it that if this was a proposal that could be entertained, why wasn't it entertained the last 30 years? Why now? Being that your generation will be the really the caveat of generations to come, you are pretty much placing your generational foot in what has been already imprinted. That is why it's so important to learn your history, to look at and take note of what has been revealed before. For if you do not, you are going to have the same effect, if not worse. Think about it, or Google it, and look at everything that has occurred in the last 45 years and the impact that is made socially. You don't think that there was some people out there that benefited from that? Which goes back to having clarity. How can you make sound decisions if your faculties are not there? But we don't talk about that now, do we? We don't talk about the fact that every day you lose brain cells. Every day, just like your skin cells, they die every day. So if you're adding something into your system that will not enhance your mortality, that is no different than someone picking up a weapon, putting it in his mouth, and deciding when to pull the trigger. The end result is always death. So let's put the pride and the ego to the side. Do you think that there's not somebody that is saying, hey, what if we build this environment with this scenario, with this attitude, with this additive to see what happens? It's kind of like someone taking a glass of water and then dropping it. Some people are going to just walk past the spill and the shards of glass, but yet the responsibility will always fall on the intended people. Somebody's got to clean that mess up. And that mess may actually be the outcome all along to buy time, to buy influence, to sway judgment. Because guess what? It's about this, right? You can't have your ideologies without your belief systems. Your belief systems are forged by your perceptions. Your perceptions make your foundation of your core integrity. So what do you stand for? Can you ask that? Can you answer that with your soul? Trust me, you don't need permission to be you. But if you can't answer that, then we can also say this. It would make sense for you not to be able to answer this. Who are you? Because to be able to understand what you stand for, you got to first have the foundation to make your directions. And it's your directions that are going to reveal your purpose. Who am I talking to? You'll come to understand that the same people that has been yelling, turn up, do what you like, YOLO, already got their life together and they waiting for you to give up yours. Because there's always a game back there. There's always something behind the scenes waiting to be implemented the moment that you give up your power. And when I mean the word power, I'm referring to your self-worth. Nobody can make you do nothing you don't want to do. No matter the climate, no matter the situation, nobody can make you do nothing. So for you to turn around and embellish the truth, deflect the fact, take non-accountability, or how about ownership of what matters most? You don't get a badge for denial. The reward is always delay. Can't you see that? So you got to ask yourself, what about the people that are placed in your life? Shouldn't they have your best interest? Shouldn't they be the truth sayers of your life? Shouldn't they at least try to protect what is most sacred? How about that bond? How about that self-worth? Even in times of discomfort, who Am I talking to? But yeah, we want to turn around and say, well, you know what? You just being a hater. You can't be a hater to anybody unless you focused on them. But if you ain't focused on your life first, you basically gave your power to someone that doesn't see the value of it. And in the end, they're going to leave you too. But usually how it plays out, they stick around long enough until you figure it out yourself. And then just as quick as they came, just as quick as they're gone. Because they don't have the fortitude to tell you the truth. We are what we attract, family. So if they're not willing to tell you the truth, guess what? That should tell you they don't see the value of your existence. So you could turn around and have a chip on your shoulder, feel a certain kind of way, but you make sure that when you are embracing that energy, you look in the mirror, because that's the first person that needs to be accountable. Because guess what? You were there. You were there. Nobody made you do what you wanted to. You chose that. The real question is, when are you going to choose to love you? But you don't hear that. You're not going to hear that promoted in mainstream media. Why? Because they've got a position and a purpose that if it's fulfilled, it'll take another 40 years to reset it. The baby boomers know this. The Generation Xers realize that now. And now millennials, some of you that are in your 20s are trying to figure it out. How are you going to understand your history if you refuse to understand you? You think things just by chance happen? No. No. Because if you think things just happen, you just basically said in vain everything that you went through was for nothing. That disrespect was for nothing. Them abandonment issues were for nothing. Those addictions you're dealing with that you want to acknowledge that they exist is for nothing. And the refusal to heal yourself. Don't you realize the first tool needed to heal a broken heart is to acknowledge it's broken? Who am I talking to? But you listen to your little friends, and what do they tell you? Oh, to get over someone is to get under someone. And they're there to inflict the wound so it stays a little longer. So if the wounds stay a little more, guess what? You ain't acting from clear mind. And the truth of the matter is, because you're terrified to use this beautiful word called no. Maybe that's the reason why you keep running. Where are you running to? Haven't you seen the correlations? Every time you take an impulsive step, it sets you back. But I guess you believe everything you see on TV too, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. This ain't shade, this is love. I used to be that way too. It took me 20 years, almost 25, to figure out not only why I was seeing what I was seeing, but the environment and how it had effects on those who were in my direct and indirect circle. Why did they respond the way they did? What is the commonality? What is the uniqueness? Because your peer group, as well as your direct lineage, should be all unique in their own way, but collectively joined by love, but by a underlining moral fabric called your last name. But then again, I understand that most millennials, not all, do not have a spiritual connection. And they're too prideful to admit it to themselves. But when you constantly see the same outcome, you constantly feel the same woe, because that pain is nothing but your woes. You know why I smile? Because I know you deserve better. And I know that this is nothing but demonic influence on this world. And one day you'll come to realize that, yes, the devil is real. And anything that is sacred, even your heart, if you're not careful, he's going to pervert it. That's why they keep saying, turn up. Because they want you to do the work. They want your hands to be dirty so that when the outcome plays out like it does a lot of times, you can never point the finger. Well, you did this to me. No, but you were there. Because, see, they'll never take accountability for your destruction. Well, they'll clearly put you on blast when you do. Who am I talking to? The real question is, when are you going to come out of that box mentality? Don't you see the deliberate agendas and tactics to divide mankind? Why don't you see that? But I understand that some people only hear the footsteps, but will not acknowledge that they're in the dark and have been in the dark for a long time, because it will cause you to rethink your belief systems. It will attack your emotional structures. It will test what you believe is true. Shouldn't your heart be one of them? But see, I got it. Because that's what propaganda does. And the whole intentions is to reach you at the lowest level. So they've got to have a spokesman. They've got to have a representative. They've got to have a subtext to say, well, this is why we're doing this. But if you discern, you see right through it. Maybe the reason you're not with those people anymore is because God got tired of seeing you cry. He got tired of seeing you suffer. And he knew that you needed help. So guess what he did? He let his angels come forth. And one of the angels came and put division between you and that person. You may notice the closer you get to you have to admit this, the closer you get to God, the further away you get from your circle. Why? The common denominator is there was demonic influence. But in the intended time, intended moment, God was like, not today. There's a bigger picture that has to be revealed. So that's when those outcomes occur that you think is your setback, but really is nothing but your set up. Maybe you are meant to just Take note, because we all know you're very intelligent. Who am I talking to? But we live in a world where common sense is not so common. So you could also acknowledge that a lot of it is nothing but spiritual attack. Because I'm going to tell you what, we are living in an era pretty much that the deceiver will be revealed, but even the deceiver will be deceived. There's a reason why you're witnessing what you're witnessing. This is the motivation to get you to decide if you will claim your life back and protect it, or you will just allow all that has happened to be in vain. Who am I talking to? See, I ain't got to live your life. I don't. But I know one thing's for sure. Real recognizes real. And when a person has a prideful spirit, you gravitate to the person that has the same traits. That's why you hear the term birds of a feather flock together. But what is a flock without a direction? Where are they going to? To their demise. That's why you always see them come back. And it ain't nothing worse, because it's going to happen to you. It's for you to run into someone that you had a strong connection with. And that's nothing but spiritual. And you see how life has treated them. Your validation will be looking you right back in your face. That's when you're going to see what the word strength is all about. Because some of y'all are going to need it. Some of y'all are going to feel a tear so deep. But what's going to follow it is this. Why? Why is this person in the state or the position that they're in? Now, mind you, if it was divinely meant, you'd be right there with them. So you can't say that there was no divine influence. So, millennials, I send love, peace, and hope. But the truth of the matter is this. As long as you allow your environment to influence your steps, they will be blocked. It's like going to a well to get water from it, and the bucket that you have is broken. Doesn't matter how many times you go to drop it in there to retrieve it. Everything that you put effort to bring that out is going to come. It's not going to. And it's the same thing when it comes to your uniqueness. As long as you do not see your value and your worth, it's going to be depleted. It's not going to be appreciated. It's not going to be protected. So the real question should be asked is this. How much pain you got to go through before you can admit it to yourself that that ain't where you should be? Who am I talking to? How much disappointment will have to happen before the clarity sinks in that these people that you hold dear don't feel the same way as you? How many scars you got to hold on to before you realize that until you give a damn about your life, you're going to expect more of the same. How much heaviness of days gone by are you going to carry in your spiritual backpack before you realize that ain't the direction you should have been the whole time? Who am I talking to? Come on now. Why is it every time that you talk about something that matters to you in your circle, they look at you like you're talking in a foreign tongue? It's because they don't want you to get there. They also know that if you do, you're going to leave that area. You're going to leave that environment quick. And yes, you're going to have the right to feel a certain kind of way because you'll have no choice but to admit to yourself that there's no peace there. There's no empowerment there. There's no protection there. And unfortunately, there's no commonality there. Oh, yes, there was before the awakening occurred, because you'll hear that word awakening. A lot of the new agers like to use that term. And that's one thing I notice about new age folks. Why won't you speak the truth? You base it on the cosmos, but you don't give the right, you don't speak it for what it is. It's all God's doing. And if it ain't God's doing, then guess who else is doing it if he ain't doing it? But until you have the courage to step out of your pride, don't even think about championing your pain. Don't even think about it, because you're going to hold on to that. Because you can't, that's what is required to be free. Why are you thinking, wow, the only time I can rest, I gotta go on a vacation? You should be able to rest every time you lay your head. So the real question is, what is the distraction, or who is the distraction? Because the environment, if it doesn't support you, it's holding you back. Well, I don't want to believe that, Gerald, because I got everything together except for this one thing. But you know that the more you look at that one thing, it undermines everything that was the foundation anyway. Maybe that whole foundation was a distraction to keep you from focusing on that one thing. You know, that one thing, that was still you. I'm just saying. I mean, think about it. The mind is so powerful that unless you cultivate it, you know where I'm going with that. So look at this era now. They're using passive aggressive terms to convince you, hey, you suffer from this ailment here. You got this issue here, which all of it, a lot of what's going on starts here. All of it starts right here. But the biggest deterrent is this. How can you call yourself strong if you won't speak your truth? Because there's plenty of people know that as long as you don't speak your truth, see, the body has a way of self-healing itself because God made it perfect. So the real question is, why won't you? Why won't you? How can you call yourself confident when someone will say, well, that's your position, but what about that? And you lose it all because that's a facade. And yes, there are people hoping that you will invest in that facade because they want you to stay broken. And as long as you stay broken, they know that you're not going to think with clarity. So guess what? You're going to have a position of impulse. That means you have no foundation. That's why they love people to be nomadic. And usually a lot of these people, even though they promote bravado, they're some of the most brokenest people you'll come in contact with. So that I will say this to somebody. If you have trauma in your life, why won't you seek counseling? That was, people, especially in the minority community, we were so prideful. We were taught to be so prideful that any discussion of counseling, because counseling is nothing but assisted clarity by way of dialogue, because a real counselor wants you well. But see, we are taught to keep your mouth closed, mind your business. But you notice your friends, I say that loosely, they put your business out in the street and they take no accountability for it. So you already know. If they really had your best interest, why wouldn't they do what's needed? How about own up what they've done? How about love you more and leave your life? Because the truth of the matter is about control. Think about it. Look at the feminist movement. You realize how many broken people of the female gender are part of that? Their whole dialogue is, if I don't get my way, I'm going to act up, just like a child. But the truth of the matter is, if their lives were together, do you think that they would have time to be a part of such a destructive platform? But here's the funny thing, though. The real people that are behind it, they want you to be broken. And what you don't realize is, eventually, those same very people will be somebody's mother. What do you mean, Gerald? She gay. She gay. She's a lesbian. That's what she do. No. She gonna go around that mountain, that emotional mountain, just like the children of Israel. And eventually, that pride and ego is either gonna fall to clarity and truth, or it's just gonna be her demise. And usually, when you talk to someone that's repping that, They all tell you the same thing. I've been hurt. But you never hear someone say, well, what did you do about it? What did you choose to do? Did you remain in the environment? Or did you compartmentalize? Because that's what a lot of people do. God forbid you function in society and you are deemed weak. So we build personas and alter egos, hoping that the real person does not become discovered. Terrified on that, because when they are discovered, they're vulnerable. They lash out. Why doesn't anybody see that? What does a wounded bird do when it's hurt? It becomes aggressive. People do the same thing. But the funny thing is, the people that have inflicted those wounds, they get a damn pass. Who am I talking to? Why are you holding your breath, waiting for that person to apologize for what they've done to you? Why are you doing that? Maya Angelou said it best: when a person shows you who they are, believe them. But here's the kicker. All people can be made new the moment that they decide to put God first. Because until you decide to humble yourself, can the pain be not only exposed, but removed? Because you know what happens? You realize not only that these people have indirectly impacted your life and the decisions you make in it, but you'll also understand that as long as you keep that position to forgive them for it, and I understand there's some people say, well, Gerald, that what that person did was so heinous. How can I forgive them? Until you decide to forgive. The forgiveness is for you. It's not for them. That's why they're not in your life. That's why you see people older than yourself, they're walking around bitter. And you know what the commonality of bitter ass people? They buy themselves. And the funny thing, they may even have children. The children don't want to have nothing to do with them, because after a while, all that was hidden is revealed. And rightfully so, because guess what? The child is nothing but an extension of you. That's why you have pathological liars. But if 1 + 1 = 2, and you're saying 5, you got to ask yourself, why did you throw that out there? Why did you feel? Because that's the one thing about being untruthful. It takes another false truth to shore up what you were projecting. But guess what? You know what? That's just like a secret. A secret is nothing but truth without words, or unspoken truth. But guess what? The intended person that you think that you hold that secret against, they always know. It's just when. So that's why you got a lot of people that are schizophrenic. But let me backtrack, because at the top of it is that narcissist. That narcissist is nothing but a demon incarnated in that broken person. But before that person can graduate to that, they first have to be sociopathic. And when a person is sociopathic, they basically have given footing to their alter self. So basically, that's the shell. That's the shell. That's what it is. So you have to make a decision. Is your alter ego more worth your life? Or is it your pain? Hold that thought. So you've got to make a decision. Because I think it was, yeah, Gangstar put a song out, There's No Future in Your Front. Because even the people that you try to appease to, they will recognize and identify what's authentic compared to what is not. And depending on who you run up with, they'll use that against you. That's how it works. Because eventually, all truth is seen. So let me bring this home. You got to ask yourself, millennials, and this is why I convey this to you. I'm trying to save you 20 plus years of your life. Why is it so much energy to convince you to mess that beautiful brain up? For you not to see your value, to not invest in your life. Why? Even to the point for you not to even see the worth of your gender. Why? Why is this not dialogue that could have occurred 30 years ago? Why now? I'll tell you why. Number one, if you defile yourself to a point, they also know that guess what? You will not be able to reproduce. And number two, you're not a threat. So they also know that as long as you are distracted, you will not focus on the things that matter most, which is your life. So meanwhile, while you see bad examples of what not to do, now notice there's plenty of those out there. But the things that you truly need, that you need to embrace to make your legacy protected, your heritage protected. How about your destiny? Why isn't that promoted? Why they not pumping money on that? Because they don't want you to get there. And there's plenty of pitfalls, snares, and people in place so that that will never come to be. Come on now. It's time that you love yourself. Do not worry about the people that you have in your circle now. Don't. Because a nickel to a dime, they're not going to be there anyway. They're not. That's why you may see the imbalance of what they bring to the table. And really, when you think about it, if the only thing that they bring to the table is gratification, then you know they don't see your value. Come on. Anybody can lay on anybody, but only a special person will earn the right to protect your heart. Come on now. Can't you see it? But guess what? That Jezebel spirit, that's what she do. That's the number one demon the devil uses. He wants to destroy your family. That's why maybe you ain't the target, it's your kids. So as long as you don't have it together, they're watching you do, you teaching them what not to do. Question is why? Oh, I'm with him even though he put his hands on me. That's not love. I'm with her, man, because she make me feel good though, but she don't know how to budget. That's not love. You can't build off of that. And you'll come to see that too. And you know what happens? They end up growing up being that old negative person. Why do you think they have senior communities? You ever thought about that? The senior living community? Why? I surely hope you don't think it's because they want to be independent. Do you? You really believe that? Nah. Senior living communities are no different than correctional facilities. There is always somebody going to tell you what you can do and what you can't. And what's the point on having family if they ain't there? Hmm? A lot of them end up by themselves. Why? Because of a lie? Hmm? Yeah. Family, see your worth. Stop running from it. Because nobody's going to protect it if you won't. God's praying for you. You know I am. I see your worth. And for that, it helps me discern mine. I never thought in a million years they would be having a dialogue talking about the use of LSD. Hmm. Yeah, okay. Good. Yeah, good luck with that. Be blessed.